Follow the people who really know what they're doing. That's all I do. Ray said to me, "Have you ever seen me broke?" I said, "No." He said, "Did you ever see me sick?" I never had. He said, "Do you think I'm a happy guy?" I said, "Yeah." Well, he said, "You know, you got to be one of the most miserable people I've ever met, Bob." And he said, "You're always broke." Yet he said, "You're always sick." He said, "Your way's not working. Why don't you try mine?"
Your mind can conceive and believe your mind can achieve.
I have seen so many changes take place in people's lives. If you go over it often enough, you'll be just as convinced as I am.
I'll never forget it. It started on a Friday night, and I go in the seminar room and I sit down, and out walks on stage Bob Procter. I didn't even know who he was, but the minute he started talking, it was like someone took my head off, shook it around, and put it back on, and everything I thought was true was just like upside down.
I met Bob 9 years ago. I was really at the bottom. I was $150,000 in debt, and he said, "If you'll do exactly what I tell you to do, everything will change."
So I remember when I first started being mentored by Bob, he's like, "You got to be willing to get out of your comfort zone, or if not, you're going to continue to stay stuck."
If I've learned anything from Bob, it's that you have to look at the strength. You have to look at the good.
Mikey Seller here was a nanny, no business experience when she came to work with our company. She's the chief operating officer of our company today. And it's by studying this material.
Any of the people that work in our company, you're going to find out they are genuinely nice people. This is not a common or a normal environment. You've got people that have come from all different walks of life. They've come from various different parts of the world, and they've all come for the same reason. There's something in here that's attracting them. There's something they're in harmony with. There's something they want to get.
Spirit is for expansion and fuller expression. We always want to expand in a bigger way. We want to introduce ourselves to a part of ourselves we never even knew was there.
You got to take massive action. If you guys are going to create what you're capable of creating, you have got to go out and do. Like Emerson says, do the thing will give you power.
You see, when you work at this kind of a business, as many years as I've worked at it, you see a lot of different things. Follow the people who really know what they're doing. That's all I do. This is those crazy dreams. It's a level of vibration. It's called a frequency. Like a plant, anything has an energy. Everything moves, nothing rests. Everything's energy. Well, you're a mass of living energy. a very high speed of vibration. There's an infinite number of frequencies. You're dealing with infinite. No beginning, no end. What happened? How come you got so good at helping other people?
Where you said the key to earning money and being successful was just leave everybody better off than you found them.
You're here, you want to go here. You make the decision, and it's a committed decision. You're automatically on that higher level of frequency. You're in tune now with the thoughts, with the ideas, with the resources, the people that can help you get what you want.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Millionaire Frequency. I'm Mikey Stiller, the Chief Operating Officer and Director of Marketing for the Proctor Gallagher Institute, and your host for this week during our 5-day event, Millionaire Frequency. We are so thrilled to have you joining this week, and we have an exceptional event planned for you. I'm going to give you a breakdown of how this week is going to go, and then we're going to jump into today's lesson. All right, so we will meet right here, whether you're watching inside our private Facebook group or on our YouTube channel every single day this week at 11 a.m. Eastern. I want you to come prepared with a pen and a piece of paper. I'm going to come on each morning and I'll introduce a lesson from either Bob or Sandy. Today's lesson is all about paradigms. It's 30 minutes long from Bob Procter, lights out lesson on paradigms, which lays the foundation for the entire week. On the other side of Bob's lesson, I'm going to meet you with our top coach, someone who has trained with Bob for 14 years, walked side by side with him, and learned exactly how to teach this material. So you are in great hands this week with Mr. Araj Vasugi. He's going to break down another lesson for us. He's going to go a little bit deeper onto paradigms, and he's going to explain it in a different way. So you'll hear it from Bob's perspective, and then you're going to hear it from Araj's perspective, and some of that's going to land for you. And I'm sure everyone will be having light bulb moments throughout each day. Now, whenever we get done, we'll bring on Monica DeMarin. She is another one of our top coaches at the Proctor Gallagher Institute. She's going to do a brief recap and give you an assignment for the day. Now, you can come every single day this week, and you can leave exactly the same if you decide to just sit here and listen. But what we want you to do is we want you to listen and then take action so that you can really internalize what you're learning this week and put it into action so that you can change your results and get on the millionaire frequency that we're all looking for. I have really enjoyed reading everyone's introductions. I hope we get to know each other throughout this week. Like I mentioned in my welcome video, you have all been assigned a success advisor for this event, and I want to really encourage you to touch base with your success advisor and utilize them. They are here to walk side by side with you throughout this event to make sure that you have an exceptional experience and get the most out of the event so you can truly create life-changing results. Now, without further ado, we are going to play Bob's lesson on paradigms, and Araj and I will meet you on the other side.
What we're going to talk about is paradigms. And I don't know if you know what a paradigm is. If you had asked me 60 years ago what a paradigm was, I certainly couldn't have told you. In fact, if you had asked me 50 years ago, I couldn't have told you. Paradigm is it's sort of a relatively new word in the mind of the general public. And a lot of people wouldn't even know what it is. But a paradigm is a very important idea, and it stops us from living the life that we really want to live in more cases than not. So if you'll throw that slide up now, Scott, and look here for a moment. There is a man that played an enormous role in my life. And you can take that down and we'll throw it back up in a few minutes, Scott. 60 years ago, I had a gentleman sit down with me, not this one, you can take that down, Scott, please. And his name was Ray Stanford. And he gave me this book. And he said, Bob, if you will do exactly what I tell you, you can have anything you want. Now, I would imagine that there's someone in our audience right now that may be in about the same spot I was in when he sat down with me. I had 2 months high school formal education. I had virtually no business experience. I worked in factories. I'd been in the Navy, working at dead-end jobs that weren't going anywhere. And I was 26 years old, but I was in a bad spot. And he sat down with me and he said, you know, Bob, he said, you can live whatever way you want. And he said, you can do the things you want. Well, he asked me if I've ever read anything, and I said, no, I didn't read. Now, today, I've got a beautiful library here in the studio. I have another one in my home. But he introduced me to this book. Now, you'll see I've got elastics around it because the book is literally falling apart. And up until that time, if I told you I'd do something, the odds are pretty good I wouldn't do it. I had never kept my word on anything. I mean, I was a lost soul. But he said to me, he said, if you'll read this every day, do exactly what I tell you, you can have anything you want. Well, it's like I said, I didn't believe that. I mean, how could I believe it? You could have anything you want. I was earning $4,000 a year, and I owed $6,000. I was in bad shape. I was a lost individual. And so, I don't know why, but I decided to do exactly what he told me. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you will do exactly what I tell you this week, I guarantee a year from now, you're going to need a telescope to look back and see where you were right now. That's how much your life can change. And I don't even care how well you're doing. Because I've gone into some of the largest companies in the world and watched their sales go up by hundreds of millions of dollars when I teach them what we're going to just take a look at this week. And, you know, as I started to study this, my life started to change. Now, one of the first things I did was one of the first things he told me. He said, I want you to decide exactly what you want. I want you to write it on a card and carry it in your pocket. And that's exactly what I did. And I have a card. I've got it in a little plastic sleeve, and I carry it in my pocket. And what I've got on here is my goal. This is what I'm working towards. And he said, if you'll carry that in your pocket, he said, you're going to end up with it in your life. Now, I wrote on the card I wanted to have $25,000. That would be probably like you writing you want $1 billion. I mean, it was just so far out of reach. And he said, just keep reading it. And he said, do you believe it? And I said, no, I don't believe it. But I believed he believed it. And so he said, keep reading it. So I decided I would do that. And I did. Do you know that in a relatively short period of time, I had the $25,000, and I did it by cleaning floors. You see, he told me, he said, Bob, you got to be prepared to do anything honest to earn money. And he said, once you start earning it, if you study it, you'll learn how to earn money. And when you learn how to earn money, it's a whole different life. And he says, that's what I'm going to teach you. And so I did. And I was earning over $1 million a year. I started cleaning floors. I started cleaning one office. In less than 5 years, I was cleaning offices in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, and London, England. And I had done something to my mind. I didn't know what I had done, but man, I was winning in a big way. And I was just throwing the money all over the place because I knew where to get it. And I would go down to the Playboy Club I was on Park Lane, right beside the London Hilton. If you're in London, you'll know where that is. And I would go in there and I'd play roulette. And I didn't care if I lost. And because I didn't care if I lost, I usually won. Well, one day I thought, I'm being very irresponsible. And I really was. And I thought, how did this happen to me? You see, I didn't even know how it all happened because it happened so fast. And I couldn't even find anybody who could tell me. I had been raised to believe that if you're going to earn a lot of money, you've got to be really smart. I knew I wasn't that smart, but I was earning a lot of money. So I knew that wasn't right. I was raised to believe if you don't go to school, you'll never get a good job. I didn't have a good job. I owned the whole company. I couldn't figure it out. Do you know it took me 9.5 years? Well, 9.5 years later, I met this man that I showed you. His name, Leland Valvanderwall. He changed my life completely. He introduced me to a concept I'm going to introduce you to. And when he did that, it was like everything I'd been studying. I'd been studying a lot of information, but I'd study this book. I'd give this book to people, and they didn't change. And what he did, he brought everything together for me in a relatively short period of time. Now, here's a couple of things he told me, if you'll go back screen, Scott. And he said, Bob, he pointed out, he said, you are a unique individual. And he said, so am I. So is everybody else. And he said, you can literally create your own economy. You can do that. And he said, the only thing standing between you and what you want is yourself. It's all about the mind, Bob. He said, it's about your marvelous mind. Then he started, thanks God, then he started to talk to me about the mind. And he said, you know, it's a strange thing, Bob, when we get talking about the mind, nobody's ever seen the mind. They have never seen the mind. Now, keep in mind that I was a very uneducated person. When you talk about the mind, I mean, I would think of psychiatrists, psychologists, behavioral scientists. No, he said, you want to get rid of those ideas. He said, the way I'm going to explain it to you is the way it was explained to me. And he said, we can show children how the mind functions. And he said, I'm going to show you something here that's rather interesting. And he said, Bob, understanding the mind and working in harmony with the laws governing the mind is essential if you really want to win in life. And then he started to tell me what a paradigm was. And he said, a paradigm is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. And he started to talk about that. He said, it's a program in your subconscious mind that controls your behavior. And the paradigm has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior, and almost all of our behavior is habitual. Now I said, I want you to think about this, and I want you to think about it. We get out of bed in the morning, and bang, away we go, we move into a routine. And if you're living with someone else, you don't mess around with their routine because you just don't do that. We've all got a routine, and we go into a routine. And we do that day after day, and most people do it for their whole life. Earl Nightingale used to say, most people tiptoe through life hoping they make it safely to death. It's rather an interesting concept. And the paradigm is the program in your subconscious mind. Now, he said, here's the crazy part about it, Bob. The people that write this program, the ones that wrote the code for the program, they really didn't know what they were doing. Think of this for a moment. I've got a computer here. It's in a phone. I've got another computer right in front of me, and then here I've got a pad. And these are computers. Now, there's people write programs for these computers. They write code. And they really know what they're doing, and they're very, very good. And the program for me to put the slides up here, that's a program. It's a PowerPoint program. And things work like a charm. Well, the people that are writing the code for them are very well educated and really understand what they're doing. But he said the people that are writing the program for the code that runs your life, they didn't know what they were doing. Now, most people don't even know that they have a program. Think of this for a moment. How do you account for a person going to the very best schools in the world, getting prestigious degrees, then spend the rest of their life losing? How do you account for that? How do you account for the fact that a person will come up with degrees that'll run right off the end of a business card and maybe not able to get a half-decent job? Very insecure. How do you account for that? Well, I'm going to tell you how. There's a part of your mind that gathers information. There's a part of your mind when you read the book, you store the information in that part of your mind. But that part of your mind is not the part that controls the behavior of this thing you're living in. Your body is an instrument of your mind. It is an instrument of your mind. And it's your body that moves into action and produces the results you're getting. Your income, money, is a result. It's an income. The money you earn is always going to be controlled by the paradigm. One of the first things I ask people when if they come to work with me is, what's the most they've ever earned in a year? Now, I don't really care what the answer is, but I want to know what the answer is. And when I find out what the answer is, I know where their program is. And I know that they want to earn more money, and I want them to earn more money because I want their productivity to go up. And by showing them how to raise the productivity, I'm showing them how to earn more money. But I teach them something about money. You see, the paradigm controls your income. If you're struggling, trying to get your income to grow, don't buy into the fact that you've got to go and take another course in school, that you've got to learn this, you've got to learn that. You've got to understand how your paradigm works. The paradigm is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior, and almost all of our behavior is habitual. Okay? So stay with me here for a moment. Let's take a look at the areas of your life the paradigm controls. The paradigm controls your perception. Our good friend Wayne Dyer, God bless him, he's gone now, but he used to put it very well. He says, when you change the way you look at something, what you look at changes. Isn't that interesting? When you change the way you look at something, what you look at changes. That's perception. When you alter your perception, your whole world changes. Your paradigm controls your perception. Your paradigm controls how you look at things. That is very, very important. Your paradigm controls your use of time. Do you know that everybody gets exactly the same amount of time? You'll hear people talking about time management programs. I remember going to breakfast with Earl Nightingale one morning, and he had the most organized life of anyone I'd ever seen. He was a very cool guy. I never saw him rushing. I never saw anybody who got so much done in a short period of time as he did. And I asked him at breakfast this morning, I said, Earl, how did you learn to master time management? He looked at me and said, what the hell are you talking about? He said, I don't master time management. Nobody masters time management. He said, time can't be managed. He said, I merely manage activities. He said, I carry a card here in my pocket, and I write what I want on that card, and when I wake up tomorrow, I do it. He says, time can't be managed. Everybody gets exactly the same amount of your time. The hobo that's sleeping on a park bench has the same amount of time as the most productive person in the world. It's what we do with our time that makes the difference. Well, the paradigm controls what you do with your time. Your paradigm controls your creativity. It controls your creativity. Some people say they're not creative. Everybody's creative. You were created in God's image. That makes you a creative being. And we'll talk more about that at another time. Your creativity probably is going to have a lot to do with your effectiveness. And your effectiveness has to do with your productivity. Now, there's something that stops almost everyone when they come to it, and that's logic. They'll say, well, you can't do that. That's just illogical. Do you know something? The Wright brothers were illogical. Edison was illogical. Ed Hillary was illogical. Nobody had ever been to the top of a mountain. Nobody had ever made an incandescent light. Nobody ever got a plane off the ground. These people were totally illogical, but they introduced us to a new kingdom. They did not let logic stop them. And here's the capper, your ability to earn money. That's controlled by your paradigm. Now, it's almost as if we have a box around these areas. And whenever we go to change anything in those areas, how we're going to change our time, how we're going to earn more money, we're going to be more productive, it's like we hit the wall and bounce back. Now look at this. When you make a decision that you're going to change the paradigm, the walls come down. Now, it doesn't mean you change anything, but the walls come down, so when you go to move, you're not stopped by the paradigm. Now, get this. I want you to imagine how your entire life would change as you begin improving any or all of these areas of your life. Imagine changing any or all of these areas of your life, how much your life would change. The change would be huge. And get this. The change would be permanent. You see, I mentioned to you that I picked this up when I was 26, but I've been reading this every day now since I was 26. They said, well, how do you read? I just open it wherever I open it, and I read for a little bit. And I've been doing that now for 60 years. The change can be huge. Now, this is what Val Vanderwall really got me to see. And he says, when your paradigm shifts, everything shifts. Can you imagine if you just changed your habitual behavior insofar as your use of time is concerned? Do you know if you just studied for 1 hour a day, 1 hour a day, get up an hour early. That's where I study, early in the morning. Study for 1 hour a day. Do you know that's nine 40-hour weeks in a period of a year? And that's concentrated study. Can you imagine if you studied the mind for 1 hour a day? That's 9 40-hour weeks in a year. The change would be enormous. Have you any idea how much your income would change if you just worked on changing your time? Your income would skyrocket. You see, I've earned millions of dollars in my life. I maintain I can show anybody how to earn $1 million. It's not even that much. I can show anyone how to change anything. It's all in the mind, and it's you that's got to change. I can't change you, but you can change you, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Now, this is what Van der Waal showed me. Val Van der Waal said, Bob, I want you to look at the mind and paradigms. In fact, I want you to look at your mind and your paradigms. Then he introduced me to a man, and when he introduced me to this man, my whole life took another enormous shift. He said to Dr. Thurman Fleet, was from San Antonio, Texas. He was very involved in the healing arts, and he was very involved in holistic health. Now, if you've seen me do this before, ask yourself this. I wonder how many times Bob's seen himself do it. You cannot go over this concept too often. What I'm going to show you here is the most valuable idea I have ever learned. Now, he said, no one's ever seen the mind. And he said, it's too bad, because when we go for help with doctors now, the doctor treats the body. What we've got to understand is the doctor's treating a symptom, not treating the cause of the problem. The cause of the problem's in the mind. Pay attention to what I'm saying. And he said, nobody's ever seen the mind, so I'm going to draw a picture of the mind. And there's what he drew. This is such a magnificent concept. And then he took and he broke that big circle into two parts. And he said, that's the top half is the conscious mind, and that's the subconscious mind. Then he said, the little circle in the bottom, Bob, he said, that represents the body. Now, the mind controls the body. Your body is like a dumb terminal. It is like a dumb terminal. This is, without question, the most valuable idea I've ever learned. In all 86 years that I've been living, I've never learned a more valuable idea. And it's what's going on in the mind that controls your body. It's what's going on in the subconscious mind that controls your body. I'm going to show you something real fast about the mind. Look here. The conscious mind, the subconscious, and the body. Now, the conscious mind is your thinking mind. Do you know that if you study all the great leaders who have ever lived, every one of them without exception are going to be quick to tell you that you become what you think about? Go right back in ancient history, as far back as you can go, every one of them tell us we become what we think about. Play with that for a little while. Thinking is the highest function we're capable of. That's our educated mind. This is where all the books are piled. Now, the subconscious is quite different. You see, the conscious mind is the intellectual mind. The subconscious is the emotional mind. Now, the conscious mind can think, therefore, it can choose. You can choose whatever you want. Viktor Frankl, who spent the war years in a German concentration camp, he said while he was in that camp, he said that regardless of the intellectual or physical abuse he was subjected to, no one could cause him to think something he didn't want to think. You have the ability to choose your own thoughts. You can accept or reject all the negativity that's going on the TV, newspapers today. You can reject all that. That doesn't mean that it's going to go away, but it'll go away for you. You don't have to give your conscious attention to a lot of stuff that isn't going to do you any good. The conscious mind can accept or reject. Now, when it lets it go, you have the ability to originate anything you want. You're a creative being. Now, your subconscious mind doesn't have any of those abilities. You see, your subconscious mind is amoral. It's like the earth. It doesn't care what you plant. It cannot reject what you plant. It's totally subjective. Now, get this. This is a very important point. You should maybe write this down so you won't forget it when writing causes thinking. Your subconscious mind cannot determine the difference between that which is real and that which is imagined. When you imagine something, it's every bit as real as if it was there in your physical world. So when you build a picture of your goal in your conscious mind and you impress it upon your subconscious accepts it as real. Now, those points that I've just taught you, right there, I've explained, they're the most important points in the mind you'll ever hear. But I'm going to take, and I'm going to set those down for a moment, and I'm going to now apply them. So let's take a look here. This is you today. What did we say about the conscious mind? We said the conscious mind could think. So when all this information comes at you, you can say, get out of here. I'm not going to listen to it. Social media, other people, Netflix, podcasts. You can just say, get out of here. I'm not accepting any of that stuff. But you know something? A good 90-some% of the population don't do that. That is because they leave their mind wide open and they're not thinking. And their subconscious is wide open. What did we say about the subconscious? It had no ability to reject. Why? Well, this is where the paradigm is. Why would people leave their mind wide open? Because they've been programmed to do that. Their mind is wide open and all that negativity is going right into it. Now let's close this for a moment and I'm going to show you how the paradigm was started. Here's you as an infant. This is you as an infant. The conscious faculties have not developed. Everything that is going on around the child goes right into the child's subconscious mind. And everything that's going on around the child is through repetition. It just dumps into the subconscious mind. The conversation, the talk about money. I was born during the Great Depression. I grew up during the Second World War. It was always hard times. Everything was rationed. It was always bad times, bad times. That's all that was programmed into our mind. Everybody believed it. That's how everybody was living, almost everybody. There's a small group of very prosperous individuals, and it doesn't matter what's going on in the economy, they're going to win. Now take a look at that for a moment. That's how the paradigm is formed. You see, the baby's taught what kind of food to like. That controls what language the baby speaks. If a baby's in a home that's bilingual, the baby's going to grow up speaking 2 languages. I have a great-granddaughter, and that little girl is learning both English and Latvian because her father is Latvian and the parents speak that language all the time, and the father can speak it, doesn't speak it that much, but around the little girl, that's what they're doing. And she's going to grow up bilingual. I had an associate over in Kuala Lumpur, had a little boy, and at 4 years old, that child could speak 4 different languages. They thought nothing of this. This is very common in parts of the world. That is because when a baby's born, they have no ability to reject information. Remember we said the subconscious, it can only accept. It cannot reject. And whatever's pounded in there over and over and over again, it sticks. And that's how the paradigm's formed. And look at here. Here it is, 20, 30, 50, 60 years later. The paradigm's still controlling them. It's wild when you think about this. It really is. Now look here for a moment. Einstein said the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. The rational mind is a faithful servant. We've created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Look here. We talked about perception. Do you know that perception is an intellectual factor? I'm going to show you a number of these. Memory. Do you know there's no such thing as a bad memory? Everybody has a perfect memory. A perfect memory. Do you know that all the other little creatures on the planet are completely at home in their environment? All the little creatures running around outside are completely at home in their environment. They blend in. They operate by instinct, which is perfect. We had instinct removed and these higher faculties put in their place. We have the ability to change our perception. We have a marvelous mind. We can memorize. Do you know that we had a man over into a matrix program we were running, and he came from Saudi Arabia, Abdullah. He was a psychiatrist. He was teaching people over there to memorize the Quran. Jerry Lucas, pro basketball player, retired. He was teaching people out in San Francisco to memorize the Bible. There's no such thing as a bad memory. Everybody has a perfect memory. Most people it's just weak. Now look at this for a moment. Here we go. We also have an imagination. The imagination is the most marvelous tool we've got. It's the most magnificent tool we've got. Our imagination will take us anywhere we want to go. Anywhere we want to go. It's with our imagination that everything you see around you was created first. The furniture around you, everything. This phone, it was created in somebody's imagination first. And that's the way things work. Then you have something called reason. Throw this up full screen, Scott. All right. Now, the reason is our ability to think. It's with the reasoning factor that we think. It's so powerful, and we have intuition. Now, if I were to walk by you, I could tell you what you're like because your body is a molecular structure. It's a mass of energy and a very high speed of vibration. Your body is a mass of energy that vibrates. If we put your body in front of an infrared television camera in a completely dark room, you'd see your body as a glistening, radiating, gleaming form. Well, do you know you have an intuitive factor that can pick that energy up and read it? You can translate it in your mind. That's an intuitive factor. And last but not least, we have the will. Do you know when President John Kennedy asked Dr. Wernher von Braun what it would take to build a rocket that'll carry a man to the moon, von Braun said the will to do it. He answered him in 10 seconds. What would it take to build a rocket that'll carry a person to the moon and bring him back safely to Earth? Von Braun said the will to do it. See, the will is a mental faculty that gives you the ability to hold one idea on the screen of the mind to the exclusion of all outside distractions. Now, it's a marvelous tool, and most people don't even know they've got it. So watch here for a moment. There's the mind, and there's the body. Okay? Now, we'll take and we'll divide it in two parts, and we say there's the conscious mind, and there's the subconscious mind. Now, the conscious mind deals with the outside world through sensory factors. You can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. And those sensory factors are hooked up like antennae to our conscious mind. And we use those to get in touch with our outside world. Most people use those to control their life. They let something that's going outside of them determine which way they're going to go. Now think of this for a moment. The conscious mind is also your intellectual mind. All those higher faculties that I just showed you, they're used to change what's going on in the emotional mind. And where's the paradigm? It's in the emotional mind. And as you change the emotional mind, you're changing the vibration you're in. As you change the vibration, you're changing what you attract to yourself. Now, the intellectual factors, well, we just covered them. Let's look at them again. Our perception, the will, imagination, memory, intuition, and last but not least, reason. Now, those faculties we've never been taught how to use them. That's where all the power lies. That's what separates us from all of the rest of the animal kingdom. See, where they're always at home in their environment, we're totally disoriented in our environment. We're disoriented in our environment because we've been given the ability to create our own environment. And this is why most people's lives are really in a confused state. They have never been taught how to use those higher faculties. And because they haven't been taught how to use them, they don't know how to use them. And it's usually its higher faculties that we deal with our inside world. There's only two sources of reference you can go to find out anything about yourself. One's science and the other's theology. There isn't anywhere else you can go. That's it. And so what we want to do is we want to learn how to use those. Now think of this. They are all resident in your conscious mind. As you start to learn how to use these, you're going to learn how to change your paradigm, because it's those faculties that cause the paradigm, say, get out of here, and it'll leave town. Your paradigm's controlling your life. It's literally controlling your life. It controls your income. It controls your imagination. It controls everything that you're doing. The paradigm. And it's the paradigm that we want to get out of here. Okay? You want to build a new paradigm. And when you build a new paradigm, your whole life changes. Okay?
All right, everyone. I hope you have a page of notes just like I do, because this lesson that you just listened to from Bob lays the foundation for the entire week as he went over paradigms. And now you're going to get to hear from our top coach at the Proctor Gallagher Institute, someone who studied with Bob side by side for 14 years. And he didn't only study with Bob, but Bob really taught him how to teach this material, and he is the perfect person to teach this week on Millionaire Frequency because he has done just that. He has a really inspiring story from when he started 14 or 15 years ago to today, earning millions of dollars, helping thousands of clients around the world on a yearly basis. And I cannot say enough that you are in great hands this week. And not only is he our top coach, but he's also one of my very best friends. Araj, how are you?
I'm great, Mikey. How are you?
I am great. Are you ready to get started this week?
I am. I'm very excited about this week and really looking forward to today as well. Not just this week. I think this is going to be absolutely fabulous.
Yes, I do too. You know, I just mentioned that you have an inspiring story, and you may tire of telling your story, but I know that there are so many new people listening this week who have never heard it. And it would just really benefit everyone if you could tell a small snippet of your story, maybe the quick version.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. 14 years ago, I had been studying this material for 3 years. And I think some people may be able to relate. I really tried hard, and none of my results changed. I felt better, but nothing in my results changed. They actually went further backwards. I had just lost my job. My company sold, and the new company wanted to keep me, but I had been studying this material. Like, my desire was freedom. I didn't know what that meant, but I wanted to live my life on my terms, doing what I want, with whom I wanted, as many times as I wanted. And that was my goal. And I met an acquaintance. Bob and I had a mutual acquaintance, and Bob got on the phone with me. And this conversation changed my life. This was the tipping point of absolutely where I went. And Bob said to me, he said, "Well, what is it that you want?" And I said, "I want to create a life of freedom doing what I love." He says, "Well, what do you love?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "I love helping people." He said, "How serious are you to make the change?" And I told him, I said, "I'm very serious because I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." And he said, "I can relate to that." He said, "I can help you." He said, "But you got to do exactly what I tell you to do to the letter." And he said, "If you don't do it to the letter, it's not going to work." And I said, "Well, what is it?" And he says, "I will give you direction." He said, "That's the only thing you're missing." He said, "But you've got to be willing to pay the price, and that price is whatever it demands. You want to remember that." And he said to me, he said, "I'm going to tell you what my mentor told me, and I'm going to share it with you." He said, "If you want to create anything greater than what you have, you're going to have to multiply your discipline." Right there, I froze. I just froze. And I'm thinking back at it because I had the worst discipline at that time. I would start, stop. And I told him that. He said, "Because you've never had a definite goal, and you've never believed in that goal, and you never had the right accountability or direction." And I told him that I'd do whatever he says. I was not winning. I mean, I was $150,000 in debt, foreclosure sticker on my garage. The only thing that I had going for me at that time was my wife, my fiance at the time. And I had a good attitude. I didn't understand what attitude was, which I developed later. I thought I had a good attitude. I was optimistic is the way I would, looking back on it. But I literally did exactly what he told me to do. If he told me to write something 100 times, I did it, whether I liked it or not. Later on, Bob would always say, whenever I told you to do something, I knew it was done. And what ended up happening is I bought into his belief. And I really believe that. When I mentor people, I tell them, you don't have to believe it. You just need to believe that I believe I can show you how. And the reason I tell them that, that's what Bob told me. And what I did and what we do is the same thing. And my life changed. Within a year, I lost a bunch of weight. I changed my income dramatically. I completely wiped out the debt I had, and I was doing what I love. And I wouldn't have known that phone call was going to change my life. Bob ended up becoming one of my closest friends, my greatest mentor, and we ended up working together for the past 14 years. I kind of think about it, Mikey, like Bob would always talk to me about his mentors. And he talked to me about Earl Nightingale in specific. And he said, I worked with him for 5 years. You've worked with me for almost 14 at the time, Bob left us here. And, the amount of application that I put in that I would have never believed that I would have put it in. Like if I went back and looked at where I was, like I was not winning. Like there's no question I wasn't winning. But I bought into an idea and I sold myself on this idea that this man really knew what he was talking about. And I was just going to do exactly what he told me. And I did it into a game, even after that call, I didn't believe it because I'd never done it. And I just said, let's do exactly what he tells me for 1 year and see what happens. Well, that 1 year has turned into 14 and it's going to turn into doing this the rest of my life. And so if anybody's sitting out there right now asking themselves, I hope this works, don't hope this week. Make a decision and make it committed, because I promise you, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And no one knows how far we can take this, Mikey. Nobody knows our potential. I don't know my potential. I steal a phrase that Bob used to say, when you're around somebody, it's contagious, the mindset you pick up. But I really believe that you and I are just getting started. I really believe that. I believe this company's just getting started. And I believe what every client is sitting there right now, if they buy in and really bet on themselves the way I did, you're going to win in the most significant way.
Yep, absolutely. Araj, you said, I would have never believed I would be here 14 years later, putting in the amount of work that I did. But you did the little things day after day after day, and they just compounded and created these massive results. And it can be really overwhelming, the amount of content that we're going to go over just this week. But if you just take a couple of things and implement them every single day, it's the small things that add up and create the big results. And it cannot be overstated how important this lesson on paradigms is. I was just counting. We did 14 of these 5-day events with Bob while he was here live. You, me, and Bob worked extremely closely on putting together these 5-day events, on putting together the names, the agendas, the content. And he was always adamant that paradigms be taught on day one. And so we have done 7 of these 5-day events live since Bob passed in February. And we have stayed true to what he felt was the most important start to these events, which is on paradigms. And so really quickly, before you jump into your slides, I know you have an incredible lesson planned for us today as well. I would love to hear why you believe Bob felt that this was the most important start to every single event.
Well, paradigms control our life. And it's funny you asked me that, because I asked him that. I'm like, do you want to start with last year? I said, do you want to start with something different? He said, no, we always have to start with paradigms. Paradigms are a multitude of habits that controls our life. And these habits are habitual. Like yesterday, 95% of our day was run by our programs or paradigms. Now, do we know what they were? Well, as we start getting conscious of our subconscious, then we're going to start being able to pick it up and start being able to alter those programs, which is going to be able to change the results. And I know everyone just saw the lesson Bob did on paradigms. Paradigms is the foundation of what we're doing this week. Without altering the paradigm, the results won't change. That's why we have to understand what a paradigm is and how to change it. And Bob told me, he said, no matter what, I've never done an event, I've never done a speaking session, I've never taught without starting with paradigm, because paradigms is the foundation.
I love it. All right, Araj, I'm going to let you jump into your lesson, and I'm looking forward to it. I've got my pen ready.
Well, I am so happy to be here with you. I love the title of this week, The Millionaire Frequency. And I believe you're going to fall in love with this title as well, as you start understanding how important understanding frequencies are. We always attract based on what we're in harmony with. I want everyone to sit there right now and look at your results. And don't judge them if they're great, bad, indifferent, but that is the frequency based on your past thinking, behaviors, and actions. And any one of you can become a millionaire if you're not. And if you're a millionaire, you can double, triple that. Becoming a millionaire and wealth is a reflection of our thinking. Our thinking creates everything in our life. And the one thing that's under our control is thought. The outside world is not under our control. What we think about is definitely under our control. And today we are talking about paradigms. And I want you to really pay attention to not just what I'm saying. I want you to pay attention to what comes up for you. You'll be able to discover your paradigms and write them down. Write anything that is limiting you down so we can release it. We want to eliminate that from your life. Now, when we talk about creating a millionaire frequency, this is about you. It's not about Proctor Gallagher Institute. It's not about me. It's not about Bob. It's not about Sandy. This is about you. When you master you and you continue getting 1% better every day, your results are going to skyrocket. And we want to understand our paradigms are about us. We may not have created them solely, but we're living with them. And for us to change our life, we have to alter that paradigm. And remember, our paradigm controls our life. Now, this idea back in 2009 changed my life. I was at a seminar, and it was called Create Your Own Economy. It was a 2.5-day seminar. And I thought the name was so unbelievable. I said, that sounds great. I would love to create my own economy. And Bob was sitting there and he says, I don't want you to just read these words, create your own economy. He said, I want you to burn it in your consciousness because you absolutely create your own economy. He said, forget about what's going on in your job, what's going on outside of you, what's going on in your business. It's all about you, what I was just referencing. But I want you to create the most amazing economy for yourself. I want you to live a life of freedom, doing what you love and loving what you do, spending your time the way you want to do that. And in order to do that, you will have created your own economy. And burn this idea in your mind. Like when I say burn it, accept the idea. When you accept an idea, you become one with it. Years ago, Bob and I were talking, and he said he congratulated me on something I had achieved. And I always joke, you got to be careful what you tell Bob. And I said to him, I said, I wish I did it every day. He said, well, why don't you? And I said, I guess I'm not sure. He said, well, you just have to accept the idea. It's not rocket science. Everyone makes it so much harder. Success is just a couple little things compounded over time. And Mikey alluded to that earlier. But this idea, make this a brain tattoo. I am creating my own economy from this day forward. Now, this man, I'm going to share over the week, this man had the most incredible impact on my life. He shared with me not just what to think, but how to think. He taught me how to win. He taught me really how to use my mind and really use it for me rather than against me. And I was smart enough on some level that I said, this guy really knows what he's talking about. And I did exactly what he told me to do. But he didn't just teach me how to win. He taught me how to live. And a lot of people right now are not living. And I want to ask you guys right now, do you have liveliness in your life? Are you living, or are you just getting by? Or are you just staying in your comfort zone? I want you to live. That's what this man taught me how to do. Once we get control of our mind, get control of our heart, have them work in harmony, you're going to win at the biggest level. Now, if you want to win in life, you must understand the mind. You must work in harmony with the laws of the universe. This is the first message Bob ever taught me. He said, there's only two things we have to master. We have to master us. We have to understand all three parts of our personality, our conscious mind, our subconscious, and our body. And we have to work in harmony with the laws. You can't sometimes work in harmony. You have to work in harmony all the time. And he said, if somebody's winning, they're working in harmony. If somebody's losing, they're not working in harmony with the laws of the universe. Really put that in your consciousness to ask yourself. Now, this is a great question. In order to create a millionaire frequency, we have to be committed to freedom. What is freedom? Whatever your definition is. My definition is doing what I want, when I want, with whomever I want, as many times as I want. I fell in love with this idea. It takes me back when I first met Bob, and he said, well, what do you want? I said, I want to live a life of freedom. Years later, he called me and he said, I was thinking back to when we met, and he said, you know what you did? I said, what? He said, you fell in love with freedom. And I really did. I fell in love with that idea. And I really harmonized with it on a conscious level, on a subconscious level, and that's why I've seen it in my physical life. Now, if I can do it, you can do it. Right now, are you committed to freedom? Or are you committed to suffering? Are you committed to the outside? Or are you committed to your inner state of how you want to live? And the real key is understanding when we're committed to freedom, we're committed to creating a definite mental picture of what we want. And we live from that definite want. We start there. What do I really want? Now, I always do this on this first day because I want to help you guys grow. And I know you're here for a reason, and I know you want to win, and I want to help you win. If whoever is committed to freedom, I want you right now to write it in the chat. Well, the reason I tell you that, you might think, oh, that's just doesn't matter. It does matter. We're speaking it into existence. You're writing it into existence. You don't have to know how to create freedom. We know how to do that. And that's what we do. We show people how to get on purpose and really create the life they want. But in order to do it, we have to open our heart to freedom. You've got to remove the past. The past is dead. You know, Wallace Wattles in the great book, The Science of Getting Rich, he says, let the dead bury the dead. The past is gone. I want you to focus on freedom going forward if that's what you want. Whatever you focus on expands or grows. Now, what do you really want? This is a question that we have to burn in our mind. Am I living the way I really want? I'm talking to you right now. What do you really want? Are you settling? Are you really living the way you want to live? Now, everyone's at different points in their life. To me, I'm at halftime in my life. I'm 45 years old, and I feel like I'm just getting started. And I really am betting on myself right now because I don't want to settle. I don't want to look back and say, I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have got out of my comfort zone. I wish I would have taken that risk. What do you really want? And I want you, if you don't know, we will help you figure that out today. But this is the prequel to creating the most amazing quantum leap and really to live on the millionaire frequency. Let's talk about the millionaire frequency for a second. If we are going to teach you how to create millions in your life, which we are, then you cannot behave like the person who earns 100,000. You cannot take risks like the person who's earning 50,000. We have to match the behaviors with the person who earns $1 million. So we have to think and act like somebody who earns $1 million. Well, what are some of those behaviors? My attitude has to match what $1 million attitude is. That means I'm focusing only on what I want. I look for the good in everything. I believe in myself explicitly. Even when the results say something else, I know that I've been gifted with an intellect and I get to use I have access to such amazing powers through my subconscious mind, which we're going to get into, which I know you are aware of now from just watching Bob. My discipline has to match the person who earns $1 million. My service, I want to leave everyone better off than I found them. I have got this beautiful, clear mental picture of what I want. Now remember, if we're going to create $1 million frequency, we can't operate at a $50,000 frequency. Right now, the moment I say I am so happy and grateful now that I am earning $1 million or more every year, I go to that frequency. But my paradigm brings me back. That's what we want to show you how to alter. Now, what is a paradigm? A paradigm is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. Now, we want to really understand this. Almost all of our behavior is habitual. I said this earlier, 95% of our days are run by our paradigms or programs. And these programs, we want to start understanding what they are. Most people are living their life blind and just keep getting what they've been getting because they're not thinking. We have been gifted an intellect and we want to start developing it and using it. When we get in control of our subconscious mind, which is called subjective control, that's when the real power in your life is going to start altering so significantly with effortless success. I just think about that because once you understand the paradigm and understand how to change it. Now, a paradigm is altered through repetition or through elite level coaching. Now, repetition is so illogical to the paradigm that the paradigm will fight you. And it will fight you hard. It will fight you so hard to be like, why do you keep doing this? Why are you reading the same statement over and over again? Why are you writing the same statement over and over again? Why are you reading the same book? Why are you reading and watching another Proctor Gallagher seminar? Well, this repetition is what is going to change your life. Fall in love with repetition. One of my favorite quotes was by Bruce Lee. He said, I never worried about my opponent who practiced 1,000 moves. I worried about my opponent who practiced one move 1,000 times. Repetition. Repetition is your best friend. Now, in order to get on a millionaire frequency and create a massive jump in your results, we have to step up and step out of our comfort zone. When you are in your comfort zone, you're not going to get any more than what you've gotten. When you make a decision that says, I'm going to make a massive quantum leap and I am betting on myself, it is essential, if you want to win, to live out of your comfort zone. Now, you may say, well, I don't want to, I can't live there all day. I didn't ask you to do it all day. I want an idea that really inspires you, that makes you excited and uncomfortable at the same time. That's how you know you're going to be out of your comfort zone. Now, the question is, am I living the majority of my days in my comfort zone, or have I stepped up and stepped out of my comfort zone? And if you haven't, right now is the perfect chance. Really go back to what you really want. What do I really want? Make sure that you are allowing yourself to astound what is possible. Nobody can tell us what is possible. Nobody knows the amount of potential that you have. You don't know the amount of potential you have. Keep dreaming, keep building this image of what you want bigger and bigger. And as you do that, everything is going to change. Now, I told you, the lessons Bob told me is you have to master your mind and you have to really understand the laws of the universe. So let's look at the mind and let's look at your paradigm right now. So this drawing, Bob called the stick figure. And he told me, and he told millions, that this is one of the most impactful lessons he ever learned. Now, we have a conscious mind, it's at the top half. We have a subconscious, it's the bottom half, and we have the body. Now, we're going to go in detail to really get you to understand this. Now, I will be very upfront. The first 1,000 times I've watched this, it didn't really connect to me. Then I finally got it. I hope you are a much quicker learner than me because you can get it right away and understand the absolute genius of this stick figure. Now, you have three parts of your personality. You have your conscious mind, you have your subconscious, and you have your body. Now, what does your conscious mind do? It's your thinking mind. It's your educated mind. This is where you get your ideas from. It is where the intellect resides. You have your subconscious, which is your emotional mind. Now, this is very important. The subconscious only understands emotion. It understands your feeling. So the only way to communicate it is through emotion. Now, it's like if we were speaking another language and I speak English, and if you were speaking to me in a language I didn't speak and I wouldn't understand it, you want to start speaking the subconscious's language. The subconscious doesn't know the past or the future. All it knows is now. So you want to start speaking to it in the present tense. Your conscious mind gives you the ability to choose any thought you want. What do you really want? This is where you get to choose. Are you choosing what you want, or are you letting the outside choose it for you? Are you letting the old story choose it for you? What are you choosing? Your conscious mind can accept or reject, and this is very important. If you are going to change your life, you have to master accepting what you want and rejecting what you don't want. This is called discipline. When you discipline your thinking, your activities will discipline and everything will change. Like Napoleon Hill said it beautifully. He said, if man cannot discipline himself, man cannot master anything. Most people are accepting what they should reject and rejecting what they should accept. Any idea that is not in harmony with what you want, how you want to live, that is not in harmony with the millionaire frequency, we want to reject. We say, nope, cancel, and reaffirm the opposite. On the other hand, any idea that is in harmony with that, I'm going to read books that have to do with the millionaire frequency. I'm only accepting ideas with the people who are earning millions. I want to learn from them. I want to study their behaviors. Find somebody who's earning $1 million or more and watch them, study them, watch how they talk, watch how they walk, watch their behaviors and match them with yourself. And the last part of the conscious mind, we get to originate any idea. We get to build this beautiful image with our imagination in our conscious mind. And we can really go there. There is a place that you want to get, that phrase you want to really start adapting. There is a place. My want is already here. Millionaire frequency is a place that I'm owning. Now, your subconscious must accept. It cannot reject. It does not know whether you're kidding or not. It does not know whether you're disciplined or not. If you give it any idea, it will accept it. And here's the thing that we want to understand. Whatever you plant grows. You're planting it in yourself. You're planting it in your subconscious mind. It influences our conscious thinking. It puts you in a vibration, and your vibration dictates what you attract. This is very important. Your mind, this whole stick figure is a garden, and whatever you're planting in it is growing. Am I planting what I want or what I don't want? Just remember, it must accept. So this is where accepting and rejecting is very critical. So we're only allowing into our beautiful subconscious mind what we want. It cannot reject. Now here's the beautiful part. It cannot determine the difference between that which is real or what's imagined. Well, why is that important? Well, it's important because when you step out of your comfort zone and really build this image of what you want, it only accepts it. So the repetition of building the image over and over and over again that's the dominating thought that's going to show up in your life. Now, we talked about behaviors. We must speak and act like the person we want to become. Well, here are 4 key behaviors, critical parts to really create $1 million frequency. Number 1 is image, and we're going to get into that later this week. Our image is the most important picture we have of ourselves. What image are you operating with? Right now, I want you to release any old thinking that is not in harmony with the millionaire frequency. And I want you to only hold the image of $1 million frequency, like you're already there. I want you to think of somebody close to you right now, congratulating you, saying, what have you done? You broke $1 million. It's absolutely amazing. You're such a great model to how I want to live. Like really create the image of you only being at $1 million. Your personal standard, your standard is your DNA to success. We do not accept anything under the $1 million frequency. We just spoke about accepting and rejecting. Anything under, we reject. Anything at that standard or above, we accept. We just feel it. We really feel ourselves on that frequency. We see ourselves. You're an actor. You see yourself at that place. If you were earning $1 million right now, how would you act? What would your experiences be? That's what we want to keep that standard at. And our attitude is only looking for the good. What is the good in every situation? What is the attitude of $1 million earner? And you match those attitudes. You get to control what you think about. Nobody else can control what I'm thinking. Only I can control it. And never settle. Bet on yourself. Never settle to anything that is not in harmony with what your heart desires. And discipline. This is the key. Once you mix discipline with anything, whether it's decision, attitude, standard, your image, you're going to shoot up like a rocket. Discipline is the key foundation to really having $1 million frequency. Now, this is such a great slide. We already have the power to accomplish most anything we want. However, we have not developed a clear understanding of how paradigms are formed or how they control our habitual behavior. Therefore, we frequently do not do what we already know how to do. We have superior knowledge, but we have inferior results. Think about it. There are people who are not as smart as you creating better results. Well, why are they creating those results? There's people who Bob used to always say who have all these diplomas, all these graduate degrees, but they're creating inferior results. Well, it's because of the paradigm. And this is what causes chaos and causes confusion and frustration. We have all the knowledge. Knowledge is not, no amount of knowledge is going to change your results. You want to remember this. The only thing that will change the results is when we have a paradigm shift. Until we change our paradigm, the results don't change. Once we alter the paradigm and are operating from the $1 million paradigm in this week, that is how you're going to create a new self-image, and that's how your results change. Now, this is what we want to understand on how to change the paradigm. You have three parts of your personality like we spoke about. You have your conscious mind, you have your subconscious, and you have your body. Now, we have these senses, and we really want to understand what is happening. We have our seeing, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. And they're connected like antennas to our conscious mind. Now, this is where the paradigm communicates. The paradigm goes into your sense and says, go see, your results are not changing. Or here, you listen to this self-talk. It is going to get you to trick you. The paradigm goes into your senses to keep not allowing you to do what you want to do. Now, we have been gifted with an intellect. That means we get to choose, like we talked about, whatever you want. We have an emotional mind. Whatever you're emotionally connected with, you are planting in the garden of your mind, which is your subconscious. Now, we've been gifted with our higher faculties that most people don't know. If you were to explain them, most people won't know what these are. We have our perception, our will, our imagination, our memory, our intuition, and our reason. Now, we want to master these. Most of us, I'll say 99% of people have been taught how to live through their five senses instead of how to live through their intellectual faculties. Our faculties are in our consciousness. Now, we want to understand how to use them. Our perception, we can bulletproof our attitude any way we want. Like Wayne Dyer used to say it beautifully. If you change the way you think, you look at things, the things you look at will change. Well, that's perception. Our memory, we've got a beautiful memory, but most people are going and using their memory against them. So they're activating their failure mechanism. Well, that didn't work. We want to use our memory for us. Think right now about one of the greatest successes you've had in your life. Right away, you start activating your success mechanism. We have our will. Our will gives us the ability to hold one idea on the screen of our mind with the exclusion of any other idea. Now, this one mastering of our will is going to bring anything into our life. When we hold an image of what we want over and over and over again, get emotionally involved, we're using our will, but we're using the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. That law states whatever idea I hold with my will long enough has to come into form. It's not, oh, it will sometimes come into form. It has to come into form. Don't use your will against you. Most people are projecting what they don't want. Worst case scenarios. They're using their will, holding the image of what they don't want. We want to teach you how to use it for what you want. You hold that image all week of a millionaire frequency. You watch the amount of faith you develop, the amount of confidence you develop. Our intuition is our sixth sense. You can feel what is going on. It's your communication with universal intelligence. It is constantly speaking to you if you're listening, but we have to be willing to listen to it. Our imagination is the most miraculous tool we have, where we can build that image of what we want. We get emotionally involved, and we're going to draw it into our life. Now, we're going to really talk about this and dissect this tomorrow when we're talking about goals. And we have our reasoning factor. Our reasoning gives us our ability to think. It really activates our thinking. Well, here's the key. The paradigm is controlling the results like we just went over. Bob went over it earlier. We have to create a new paradigm, $1 million paradigm. So now you think and act like the person who earns $1 million, and how you change the paradigm are with these higher faculties. Your higher faculties is what creates the new paradigm, and you want to use them. I want you to pick one of these for the next 30 days. Let's say you're picking your will, where you're saying, I'm only going to focus on what I want. And then after 30 days, I want you to use your imagination. Then another 30 days, use your perception. Once you have the new paradigm, everything changes. Now, let's look at the areas of your life that your paradigm has enormous influence over. It has influence over your perception, your use of time, your creativity, your effectiveness, your productivity, and your logic. And it definitely has your ability to earn money. Our paradigms are the primary cause of our result. It impacts all the key areas of our life. Now, imagine what would happen when you make a decision and says, not just any decision, an irrevocable decision that I am changing my life. I am operating on the millionaire frequency from this moment forward. What happens is you knock those walls down of your paradigm. That doesn't mean you're going to change the result. You still have to do the action. But when you make the decision, you knock those walls down. And just imagine how your entire life will change if you change any of those areas of your life. The change will be huge and it's permanent. When we make a paradigm shift, it's permanent. Like Emerson says, you never go, once you stretch out of your comfort zone, once you operate from a new paradigm, you're never going to go back to the old. You will only continue going if you make this a way of being. It's your state of mind that is going to create your results. And that's why 95% of success is mindset and 5% is strategy. Now imagine that you change your use of time. Well, that alone, or your ability to earn money, all these areas, if you knock them down one at a time, they work so in harmony with each other. Because as I start managing my activities and only focusing on my goal achieving activities, my income is going to go up. Well, we want to really understand this. We have this power that's flowing through us. We want to control the flow of thought energy. We want to relax. We want to allow it to free flowly. Thought energy for most people are being controlled by the paradigm. And if you want something new, you want to get really relaxed, build this beautiful idea of what you want. You cannot force the outside world. Most people are trying to force the outside world to get what they want. That's not how it works. Once we're controlling the flow, we think and act like that person, then the universe says, okay, he's out of my way or she's out of the way. Now I can give them the good. We want to open the space for the good we desire. Well, how do we open that space? We have to know what we want. We get emotionally involved in what we want and we control the flow. We sit there and we allow it. Now, we have a power that's flowing in and through us. We have a power that we get to direct. We get to think about what we think about. And this week, we are only thinking abundance. Any other thought, we say, nope, I do not accept it. I am on a millionaire frequency. And all your power is going to be directed over here towards abundance. Now, you can't be 95% abundant, 5% lack in limitation and scarcity. That's not how it works. Abundance does not have one scarce thought. Wealth does not have one scarce thought. Doesn't mean you have to be perfect, but your intent does. So if you do have that thought, you get rid of it right away. You reject. What did we talk about? Accepting and rejecting. Now, we have so many great lessons planned for you this week. I want you to really accept the idea that you can have whatever it is you want. And when you accept that idea, you don't need to know how. You just need to know that if one person can do it, anybody can do it. And you are going to direct all your thinking towards the millionaire frequency. Now, I look forward to helping you tomorrow on goals and really getting you understanding how paradigms and goals work together. But I want to turn it over to my good friend, Monica DeMarin. I've had the pleasure of mentoring Monica for many years now. She came to me when she was struggling, and now she is on the millionaire frequency. She's earned millions, and I want you to pay close attention to her. She not only knows this very well, she lives it, and she's got such a great way of explaining it, and you want to pay good attention to my friend over there. All right, Monica, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Arash. Paradigms. Wow, that was a powerful, powerful lesson. Arash gave so many powerful ideas today. And there were so many great takeaways. That's why you're going to want to go back and keep studying this lesson again and again. And the first day has really laid out the foundation of understanding the importance of paradigms. And I want everyone to know you are not your results right now. So whatever you're at in your life, just know that does not matter. It does not define where you can go in the next 5 days with us. You can change in any moment, and it doesn't matter what your results are showing you because you are not who they are. They're just a result of your past thinking. So this week, I'm going to be taking you through and highlighting all the key points that was taught here so you can have a deeper understanding in the daily lessons. And I'm going to give you out daily assignments to do every single day. And these assignments that I give you, they're going to be easy to do and easy not to do as well, some of them. It also goes for the implementation of the ideas that you're going to hear with us this week, because Arash and Bob and Sandy, our entire team, we're going to give you new ideas and you're going to come across them this week. You're going to have some of these ideas that are going to be really fun to implement and start right away. And then some of these ideas are really going to challenge your paradigm. And you want to remember, those are the ones that you really want to push through, because if you empower that paradigm, it's going to stunt your growth. I'm going to tell you this story. I can remember when I was first being mentored by Bob and Arash, and my paradigms were fighting me hard at that point. I felt a lot of resistance and I was changing, right? Remember, the paradigm does not want you to change at all. And I remember Arash saying to me, he says, Monica, do you want to be right or do you want to be successful? And I'm like, yeah, I want to be successful. And he's like, do you want to earn $1 million? And I said, yes, I do. And I do want to create freedom. You know, that was what I really wanted to do. I wanted to create such big results. And I was at a point back then that I was kind of stuck. And then he said to me, because then you have to do exactly what I tell you to do. And that's the price you have to pay to win. You don't need to know how. You just have to believe that I can show you. And I really believed that they could show me. I felt this relief because I finally had this direction from someone who was where I wanted to be, and someone also calling me out on my own paradigms. And remember, that paradigm, it's a perception of how you see the world. That paradigm is a perception of how you see yourself. It's a set of beliefs. It's a multitude of habits and beliefs that we have stored in a section of our subconscious mind, So it is this deep mental programming, and it's running within all of us. And this paradigm, I'll tell you, it affects all areas of our lives. It affects our income, our use of our time, our relationships, our health, every area of our life. And today's lesson is all about understanding you. That's why I think I love it so much, because you can't create results if you're not understanding where you're at. You have to understand, in order to change something, you have to know where you're at. So if you're wondering where your paradigm is in your life, just look at your results in all areas of your life, okay? That's going to tell you where your paradigm is at. If you just look at your income, that's going to tell you where you feel like you're worthy and deserving of earning right now. Now that's going to change, okay? But this week, you're going to learn how to change a lot of things, okay? A Millionaire Frequency. This is a new wonderful program that you want to learn the habits and behaviors of someone who's operating at that level. And once you learn how to change your paradigm, you're going to change your life. This is so true. You can absolutely create the life that you want. It's a matter of understanding you. It's a matter of disciplining your thinking and becoming the very best version of you. If you ever want to go further in life, you have to alter the paradigm. I have to do the same. If I want to keep growing, I have to keep altering my paradigm. And to create a millionaire frequency, you cannot afford to have lack and limitation running most of the time, right? So we want to change most of your thinking into thinking on a millionaire frequency where most of your thoughts are running on that level. So that's why it's so important to know what we want. It is absolutely everything. You know, it shifts our focus. It adds focus with power. It shifts our frequency. Knowing what we want is the purpose of us being here, is to grow into our wants. And you can't get from where you are to where you want to go if you do not know what you want. So you need to create that clarity. So it comes down to that beautiful question, what do you want? And it's such an important question. These words are so tiny, but they're so powerful. Give yourself permission to unlock the imagination and let your mind and your heart truly explore what you desire. So look at what you want and truly want, okay? Don't hold it inside of you. Open your heart and open your mind to it. Then what you're doing is that space is being open. There's a place deep inside of you that knows the type of person you're designed to become. I want you to connect to that other person, connect to that one, let go all in and really let go of these limitations. Whatever's holding you back with us this week, let them all go. Forget about the results are telling you right now or what other people may be thinking of you. You know, this is a common thing that a lot of people stop themselves from going after what they want. I want everyone here to get into the habit of accepting these ideas, thoughts that serve, and you reject all other ideas. Become aware of your thoughts so you can catch the paradigm and change it. So I want everyone to make that defining moment today. I want you to wake up every day and be really excited about being you. And I want to point out before I get into the daily assignment that Arash had that slide on the stick figure. And you want to remember, you know, Bob burned the stick figure in his mind because it made such an impact. It created clarity and order in his mind. But your mind does not know what's real or imagined, okay? You have the ability to choose any thought. You can originate any new idea that you want at any moment. That's our conscious mind, okay? Then the subconscious mind is the emotional part of our mind. It must accept anything that you give it, good or bad. So I think most people in the world are accepting ideas of that's not serving them, okay? So they're looking at their current circumstances, their situation, and they are accepting more of the same. And the best thing about the subconscious mind, you can put anything you want in it. It has no idea if you made something up or not. And so I would like everyone to accept what Arash has spoken about today on paradigms. All of these ideas is for you as well. And I truly believe with my entire heart, it's about accepting the idea that this life is for you too. You got to accept that idea right now. Because what happens is I think a lot of people, they might be shy, they might be stuck, they might be letting their situation dictate, can I actually do this? Is this actually for me? So they're playing their life really small. And I've been here for 7 years now. And I know that if I wanted to win at this and create freedom for me and my family, I could not play small. There was no choice. There was no way I could play small and win in a big way. So you have to really go after it. Get a clear picture in your mind of what you want to create. I want you to relax and let your mind and your heart explore what you want. So for today's assignment with paradigms, I want everyone to understand paradigms are in every single person on this planet, okay? So you can create the life that you want when you choose in. And the reason why people make it complicated because their paradigms are in control of them. So we want to get rid of these paradigms today. We want to get rid of the limitations. And the daily assignment today is going to help you get rid of them. So these assignments that I give you, along with the teachings, will change how you see life and what's possible for you. So it's really important that you not just attend the sessions, but actually do the work. Part of when I'm coaching anyone or, leading people, I say, you got to put in the effort. How are you actually showing up? So the assignment today is number 1. I want everyone to write out their limiting beliefs, write out those paradigms, and this exercise is not to put a lot of energy onto your limitations. It's actually going to put a lot of energy onto saying goodbye to them. All right. So this is so powerful because when you say goodbye to those limitations, you release it on a spiritual level. Okay. So it's getting it from inside of you, outside of you. You want to be gone, be done with them. Okay. Then when you have that piece of paper, what I want you to do is take that sheet and rip it up, get rid of those limiting beliefs. Okay. They are not who you are anymore. You are not that person anymore. And what I want you to do on a second piece of paper, I want you to get and write out a script of all areas in your life. Okay. your relationships, your wealth, your business, your health, all areas of your life. Okay. Your spiritual side too. How do you want to connect to that? Okay. Are you creating multiple sources of income? Did you turn your annual income into your monthly income? Whatever you want. Okay. I want you to write it and be in the present tense. This is really important, like it's already done. And don't write what you think you can achieve. I want you to write what you really want. Okay. And then what I want you to do is I want you to attach your success advisor to your exercises that you've done and show that you've done the work. Okay. You're putting a lot of energy on it. It's like they're holding you accountable to it. You're shouting out to the world, I'm saying goodbye to this, and this is what I am creating. So that's the assignment for today. And like I said, you're going to want to watch this lesson over and over again because there is so much covered. And then you can join me again this afternoon at 2 p.m. where we are going to be back here for Coach's Corner. And I'm going to be interviewing Mario Piccone. And we're going to share with you our lessons that we've learned from Bob and Arash and Sandy. We're going to learn and we're going to teach you and give you direction on things that have worked with us when it comes to paradigms. How did we actually dig down deep and alter these paradigms? So we will see you back again at 2 p.m. this afternoon. Take care.